Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, whether you support Tottenham, whether you support somebody else, you are more than welcome. And today I'm joined, I think this is the first one-on-one we've ever done. If I possibly, I'm joined by Jose, not Jose, from at Tel Cockerel. How we doing, man? You good?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is the first time. Glad to be here. Glad to digest whatever you've got in store for us, mate.
Well, look, I mean, I think I always weigh up, do I want to do a video? Is there anything to talk about? And I just think at the moment it's quite a busy period within the football calendar. You've got, Qarabag tonight. You've got the Carabao Cup draw last night, which is what we're going to focus on. You've got Man United at home, and then the games come thick and fast. You've got the Spurs fan forum. So this is the busiest period since the transfer window is shut. So I think there's enough for us to get our teeth stuck into here. Yeah, look, just before we get going, we're going to talk mainly today, everybody. Please smash the like as you come into this premiered video. Please, I've put the link in the chat as well to Tel Cockerel, really good content creator, one of the calmest content creators I've ever seen. Just doesn't get involved in any drama, any of it, just a lovely, cool, calm channel, and does a lot of competitions for his guests. So please get over there and subscribe to Tel and help him grow. Before we start, Jose, Spurs, the beginning of Spurs season, it's been 5 games now. It's been a kind of mix of results so far. Without going too deep into it, what's been your kind of overview of Tottenham in the 24-25 season so far?
Going before the start of the season, I thought that we were a bit light in the transfer window. Right. Maybe 2 to 3 players light. Gone in with a thinner squad. Now, whether that's by design or not, I don't know. But we've gone in with a thinner squad. Yeah. And my personal opinion doesn't have to be shared by everybody. But my personal opinion is, I think that we have changed. Mm-hmm. We've made slight changes since last season. Now, I know we were unbeaten for 10 games last season, but I actually think that some of the football we've played this season has been better than our unbeaten run last season, and we've got less to show for it at the moment. Yeah. He's made little tweaks and changes. I've noticed some subtle changes. I've noticed some changes with the goalkeeper, where obviously the goalkeeper's come out and said, I'm poor at this and I'm poor at that. He made this comment in the summer. He's gone out. He started working on this. It's nowhere near the finished article. It's going to take him a while to change his ways and stuff like that. But I can see that he's starting to try and do that. Defensively, the last game that we played, we didn't invert like we normally do and stuff like that. So there's been little subtle changes. Again, we're suffering from injuries already at the start of the season. Not as many as last season, but we're starting to suffer, and you're starting to see how thin the squad is. Yep. For me, it's kind of a mixed bag, but I am happier than what I was when we were on a winning run last season in the way that we're playing.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It depends. I mean, at the moment, that seems to be the hot topic, right? Is it results versus style, or is it style versus results? But listen, we're not going to get too deep into that. I just wanted to get your understanding. Look, lots of people have talked at length about Spurs' need for a trophy, Jose. And when I say I've talked about it, I don't mean like for the last week. I mean, for about 16 years now, people have talked about Spurs' need for a trophy. Other fans of other clubs love it, right? Because let's be honest, we've started to become that bit of a, can Spurs win a trophy this year? Is this the year Spurs win a trophy? And Jose, look, people of certain age, I'll go my age and upwards, which I'm going to put you into that category. Look, when we were growing up, we were used to seeing this. I'm not sitting here saying we will ever like Man City or Chelsea and winning trophies every year, but we were very much a cup team. We were very much, the fans almost got more excited for cup competitions and cup days than league games. And that's kind of gone away from Spurs at the moment. And I wanted to ask you this. Is it an age thing? Is it a new generation thing? Because I see a lot of fans now on all of the different social media sites and YouTube shows. Some people don't really care about the cup. Don't care about the Carabao Cup. It's Mickey Mouse. Don't care about the FA Cup. All we care about is the league. Is this a generational thing? Is this a mindset shift? What do you make of all of this? And should Spurs be winning trophies?
Big old question, loaded there.
Yeah. I don't
Right,
mess
it's
about on
very
this channel,
yeah,
Jose.
I know it's very, very loaded. Yeah, obviously I am a lot older than you, Savva, and it's
Couple of years.
a fair few years. I'm going to tell you now, but at the end of the day, I think for someone like myself, and possibly you're younger than me, but you've seen success at Tottenham as well,
Yeah.
and so I understand, and I really do get it, where the younger generations haven't seen the success that we've probably seen.
Yeah.
And just because we've seen success, that doesn't mean that we don't want success. Honestly, to me, I've said it. It's stupid to say, but I'll take 17th in the league to win and winning a trophy. I would take it. At the end of the day, we do need that silverware. Now, the thing about the game has changed so much since we were winning trophies, and I'm going to go back further than 16 years when we were regularly winning trophies, like every 3 to 4, 5 years, we'd win a trophy of some sort, whether it be European, whether it be FA Cups, we'd win them. Now, there's so much football, and it's been forced upon, and it's been spoon fed by different bodies, sticking more and more and more games in, which is taxing on the footballers themselves. And now clubs pick and choose, and it's unfortunate, but they do pick and choose the competitions that they're going to chase, or they pick and choose. Some teams will pick and choose. I want to stay in the Premier League, and I want to give myself the best chance just to stay in the Premier League. I'm going to go weak in the clubs. So a lot of the clubs now do that. A lot of clubs don't have the strength in depth to chase 3, 4, 5 competitions in a season.
Yeah, sure.
And and at the end of the day, and also as well, at the end of the day, it's what the priorities are for clubs. So things have changed, and for every club's different and in what they're chasing. However, a trophy is what we need, and we do need it. And I want us to win a trophy. My son was born. My son was born, and Tottenham had won the FA Cup, right, in '91.
Yeah.
When my son was already born then, and one of my sons was born 2 years after Tottenham won the FA Cup. So one of my sons didn't even get to see, although he's born, didn't get to see us win the trophy, but saw us win the Carabao Cup.
The Carabao Cup,
and that's the only trophy he's seen
but
us win.
he's not seen us win the FA Cup in his lifetime, and he was born in 1993.
Well, no, I've got a son that was born in '89,
right,
and then I've got another one in '93. But
that's what I mean. The one in '93,
one Carabao Cup. But even the one in '89 didn't see the '91 victory because he wouldn't have known football when he was 2.
Yeah.
He's only ever seen the 2008. So, and at the end of the day, the older ones die hard Tottenham, and you can open up his veins. He's Tottenham through and through, and he still supports Tottenham, and he's gone through what the younger generation have. They've not seen the trophies and have not seen the success and stuff like that. And I stayed at his for work. I stay at my son's in Surrey because it halves my journey to go to work, so I stay overnight. And I asked him, what day Thursday? So I asked him on Tuesday night when he got back home from work. He got in after me, and I just asked him, did you watch Tottenham at the weekend? And he said it's the first time I've seen Tottenham play this season was the Brentford game. He said I've not watched this apart from that. He goes, to be honest, I'm not that interested. It just doesn't get me anymore. I'm not interested. And his first words to me goes, I don't rate Vicario. This is the first thing. This is the first thing he said to me. So I get it. I do get it. And at the end of the day, I try to be as positive as possible with him. To say doesn't lose the faith in that. But I've been doing that for a number of years with him. So at the end of the day, we do need to win a trophy. And it depends. To win a trophy, Sam, it's really hard. To win a season gives you what you've done over 38 games. A cup is what you do, and it's a moment in time where all the variables have to be in your favour each round.
Of course.
Yeah. And if the variables are in your favour and you've got a bit of luck on your side, then you can go on and win these. But it also depends as well. If we're going to talk Carabao, it depends as well what we do ourselves, how strong we go in with our lineups, and how serious we're going to take it.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, let's just before we go on to the cup draw. Look, this is Tottenham's honours page. Hang on, let me blow that up. That is tiny. Sorry, but bear with me 1 second. We were just talking about having glasses on just before.
I'm going to put them back on now. Here we go. So I can see what you're doing.
I mean, look, it's listen. As I said, I'm going to caveat again what I said. We've never been a club that win a trophy every year, Jose. But you know, when you actually look there, you know, in the 80s there was the FA Cup twice in the 80s. You know, we had the European Cup in the 80s as well. We had the European Cup in the 60s, the European Cup in the 70s.
Yeah.
FA Cups littered throughout every decade. And it's kind of if you look there at League Cup winners and then you see the 07-08, since then nothing. And that for me is the real sad indictment of where Tottenham are at the moment. Maybe hence why people like your son are, I've missed it. And to a degree, I'll be honest, Jose, if I didn't have the YouTube channel, the rush to get home for the games. I remember I used to be out whether I was out with my mates or with the girlfriends before I had my wife, when I was younger.
Yeah.
Wherever I was, Spurs are playing at 3 on a Saturday, I'm home for 3. Whether that's on the radio, watching Sky Sports News, I am home for it. I'm tuned in. What is going on? Right? Now it's just a little bit like I don't know. I'm not saying my love for Tottenham has gone. Of course it hasn't. I love Spurs. But I do feel that a cup might bring back that romantic part, that spark that we were used to when we were growing up. And you're right, 38 games over a year, you turn around and go, God, 38 games, we've finished 4th. That's great. But let's be fair, more than anything, that's great for the owners to go, oh, how much money do you get for finishing 4th? As Spurs fans, for me, and I want to get your take on this, for me, what beats finishing 4th? The invisible trophy, which someone said to me today, the invisible trophy, which I believe it is. It's that day out. It's that walking down Wembley Way, that tense atmosphere. You've got the butterflies in your stomach, seeing the lads at Wembley, seeing them lift a trophy. That's the sensation that no matter how good the Knights are beating Ajax in a semi-final of the Champions League, no matter how good finishing 4th is, no matter how good smashing Man United 6-1, for me, just for me, Jose, none of those experience match Ledley King doing that after a Jonathan Woodgate header to win in extra time. Do you see where I'm coming from with all that?
I totally agree. I'm not going to disagree. I mean, with a league, yeah, you can have it over with your mates because your mates just won't support one club. If you're fortunate enough to have a few friends or acquaintances, if you like, then they're all going to support different clubs. So where you finish out at the end of the season, you can have that 2 and 4th. Oh, we finished above or below, blah blah blah. You can have that banner, but to walk away is, we're champions of that. You'll never sing that. At the end of the day, if you're a champion of something, you've won a trophy, then it's something you can take with you. The record books will tell you, unless you win the league, your record books will just give you a position. And that's it. That's all the record books will give you. But if you win the league, that's a trophy. If you win a trophy, then that's a trophy. Like you just said, you brought the honours list up. The honours list doesn't tell you what position you finished in the league, does it? Unless you win it.
Doesn't care.
Unless you win it. And then obviously as well with the trophies is what, at the end of the day, you can't argue with friend or foe. A trophy's a trophy. And at the end of the day, if you're going to give someone proper banter about it, if you've got a trophy behind you, then God, you stand proud and the tallest man on that hill because you've got that trophy. And at the end of the day, you're quite right. When we was younger, football's been diluted, Savva, so much. Because when we were younger, I know exactly what you're saying. When we was younger, and you'd watch the FA Cup, you'd watch the draws, you'd see the games that you got, whether you played on it used to be just Saturdays back then, didn't it? But then it converted into a Sunday. Then you might have a Friday night and a Monday night. Then it went to Thursday night. So they diluted that part of the element of it. But then when you got to the final, you remember BBC, the ITV, both of them used to cover it. I used to cover it from about 8 o'clock in the morning. It used to go through till 6 in the evening. It was a proper 10-hour FA Cup show where it was breakfast with the teams. And then you'd have, this is the run-in that they've had from the 3rd round onwards to get to the final. Then you'd meet characters, you'd meet supporters of the clubs in all walks, shapes, and guises, and they made a right day of it. 10 hours full of it. If you wasn't fortunate enough to go to Wembley to watch the final, or Cardiff when they had it there as well, you had 10 hours of it. And and everyone got up for it. You're quite right. Whether you had a girlfriend or whether you had your mates or not, everything froze on cup final day.
It was nothing. It was just that energy, that boost. And look, things have changed, right? I mean, back then, I think when I was growing up, I believe that when I first started watching football, I think there was one sub. If I'm right, I think there was one
there's
sub.
one. Yeah.
And I remember, if I'm not wrong, I believe that the first sub ever was, I want to say, Keith Peacock or John Gorman. It was someone like that. Anyway, that's just my brain trying to rattle information to the front of it. But now we're in an era where it's these 5 or 6 players haven't made the 20-man squad. We're at that stage, so the cup competition changes. But look, let's use that to segue into the cup draw that was last night. And I'm sitting there watching it with my wife. I turned over. We were watching a Netflix documentary actually about someone who ran away from jail. But never mind. I flicked it over and I was like, right, we've got to watch the cup draw. So the numbers come up and I'm like, Spurs are number 13. Right, I'm like, okay, what numbers do we want to avoid? Right, I'm like, okay, City are number 7. I think Arsenal and Liverpool respectively were 14 and 15 or 15 and 16, something like that.
14 and 15, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool, we've got this. First couple of draws come out and you're like, oh, okay, some of the teams I want to play have gone. And then number 13, all right, we're at home. We're at home. Can't ask for more. And then it's number 7, Man City. Now, look, this is where I find it quite funny, Jose, because there's so many schools of thought to playing Man City. And for me, they're the most interesting team to play. Not just because they're the best team. And sorry if that offends anyone. I'm sure I'm going to get loads of people going, oh, Savva supports Man City. But not just because they're the best team, because this is a team that they won this competition year in, year out without fail. And in the last 3 years, there's been a huge shift in pattern from Pep Guardiola, where this hasn't been his main priority because they're winning league titles, because they're going for Champions Leagues, FA Cups. So City have kind of taken a bit of a back seat. Does that make Man City a good team to play in this, that we know that this is their 4th choice? This is their 4th choice on their priority list. Because, Jose, City can afford to make this their 4th choice. They win trophies year in, year out. Does that make them a good team to play, or does that make them a very dangerous team to play?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that 2 ways. So I'm going to be honest to myself and say what I've been saying to people. After the Coventry game, let's not twist this, we were absolutely appalling. It's the worst performance I've seen from a Tottenham Hotspur side in, I can't remember. That's how long, and I've been supporting the club a long, long time, and I cannot remember seeing a performance like that. And I can't remember the last time I ever saw a performance like that. I know it was a while ago, but it was awful.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of that game, I was honest to exactly what I'm saying now. And I said, look, the plus side is that I remember last year going where I was when we went out against Fulham. I remember where I was when we went out against Middlesbrough. And I remember, and I remember feeling so down about it. And I'm an old man, and I felt down because we've gone out of the first chance, first round of these cups, and we've gone out.
September and we've gone.
And they've just said we're done, we're out. And so we got through. So I was like, okay, we were really poor, we were really bad, but we're in the next round of that. We're in the hat for the next round, and it's going to be next week because we played last week, and it's going to be next week that we do the draw. All I want from a draw, and this is what I said at the time, so I've got to be honest with myself. I said, all I want from a draw is, because of all the variables that I talked about, I said, all I want from the draw is a home tie. And at the time, I said, I don't care whether we get City, and that's the first name that came out my mouth. So all I want is a home draw. Now, I'm a firm believer, and always have been, is that I don't care about other teams. I care about what we do.
Sure.
Whatever we do is within our gift.
Sure.
So if Tottenham turn up and we do what we're meant to do, then I don't care about the opposition. Now, I hear people say, yeah, but they got... So we're playing Man United this Sunday. So people are going to turn around and say, but they got Bruno Fernandes. But they got Joshua Xerxes,
Yeah,
whoever you want to name, but they got this and that. And I'm going to be honest, Savva, I don't care who the other teams have got. When we played Brentford, but they got Mbeumo. When we played Arsenal, they got Saka, and they got this. I do not care who the
it's
other
about
teams
us.
have. It's about what we can do, to affect the game, and what's within our gift. Now, we've got Manchester City. Now, we were discussing this before coming on. You asked me, did I see the comments from Pep? And I said, yeah, I had. I've seen the comments. I've seen the interview on BBC. And in all honesty, Savva, Manchester City have, for all intents and purposes, have 3 teams. So they've got a squad of 25, and if you include their youngsters who'd be in the B squad, they've got enough to fill 3 sides out, right? To be fair.
They got some
Now,
players, haven't
they've got a lot of players. Now, it doesn't matter what Man City you get. It doesn't matter whether Pep rotates players or not. You're going to get a decent Man City side out playing against you.
Yeah.
And that's what will happen. We'll get a decent Man City. Now, what I haven't done my homework to look. I think they said it was the week of the 28th of October this round, but I don't know
I think so. I think so.
Okay, but I'm not sure who we play before, who we play after. I'm not sure about the fixtures, so I've not looked that far ahead, because at the end of the day, Man City are going to be a tough nut to crack anyway. But
it's sandwiched. It's sandwiched. We've got Palace on the 27th, which is the Sunday, and that's away. And then the following weekend, we've got Aston Villa at home. So Palace and Villa is the Man City sandwich.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So we've got 2 league games on the side. I wasn't sure whether we had cup games like from Europe in between all as well. Right. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you play. Well, sorry, it does. But you get Man City, and Man City can put out and field out any sorts of teams. But we're at home, and like I called for last week, I said I don't care who we get as long as we get home ties. Like I said, you've got to be the variables that you get. You get home ties, you get away ties. It's all down to the manager on what players he's got available, what strength we go in with for every game, right? And I said last week that normally the Carabao Cup, I'd say, and possibly the third round, just the third round of the FA Cup, teams in the Premiership seem to go light and don't take this as serious as maybe other teams that go light. But I did comment last week saying, do you know what? This season, so far, what I saw last week, I thought the Premiership teams went in stronger than what I thought they would do. And I think this week's games as well have shown that, because Arsenal played yesterday. They had Skelly, the youngster, played for him at fullback. They had Nwaneri played for him.
Nwaneri, I watched him yesterday. He can play.
He's in the same England under-17 side as Mikey Moore. They're the 2 up front, isn't they?
Except he's getting 90 minutes and ours isn't. That's a different story. And Jose, they had the 16-year-old goalkeeper as well. Fair play.
Yeah.
I know it's Arsenal, but what a night for that lad, right? He's 16, making a debut. But
then looking at the rest of their team, though, Arsenal put out strong. The remainder of their team, they put 3 youngsters in, but they had a strong side out. Look at Man United. Man United put out a strong side yesterday against last week against Barnsley. Last night, Liverpool put out a real strong side against West Ham. So what I said last week, it looks like happened this week as well. People look like the teams have gone slightly stronger than what I expected them to do with the teams that they've named. Now that we've got Man City, then you got to then make a decision, ain't you? You're at home, and it's looking at us and not Man City. We now need to make a decision. How strong are we going to go? Because that will tell us whether we're after this competition or not. How strong will we go in that competition?
I think Jose, I think you're spot on, but it will be an absolute travesty though if we don't go strong in this competition. Because let's be brutally honest, if Man City don't win the League Cup, Pep's not going to care. He's not, right? Pep will get upset if they don't win the league and if they don't win the Champions League. Right? They're the big ones for him. We're not in that position. We're in
the World Club Championship, because they're in that as well. So I've got 5 competitions this year.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And they'll have the Super Cup. Listen. Oh no, they won't. Yeah, you're right. 5 competitions. So for me, look, you're right. Man City can rock up. All right, Walker and Diaz don't play, but Stones and Rico Lewis come in. All right, Gundogan doesn't play, but Kovacic does play. Listen, I think the big ones for me are going to be, I'm going to say it now, is I know what you just said about who other teams have got. The big one for me is if Erling Haaland doesn't play, straight away that makes me feel much happier because the man is an absolute beast. I don't know about you, and I don't want this to be about Erling Haaland, but I mean, I've not seen a striker ever like this guy before. I feel like he's a real freak of nature. Almost like, by the way, let's see if people listen to this. I'm not saying he's anywhere near as good as, do you remember the proper Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo, R9?
Yeah.
He was a freak of nature in his way.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland's a freak of nature in his way. And when I say freak of nature, please don't anyone take that. I mean that in a positive way. He's just unbelievable. If he doesn't play, I just feel so much more comfortable. But you're right. Man City can rock up. Is it going to be Grealish on the left or Doku? Is it going to be Savinho on the right or Bernardo Silva? You know, they've got options. They have got options. You're right. What do we do? But if you actually look, I'll bring this up actually. If we look at the games we've got sandwiched, not just those two games, right? If we look at these games, Jose, let me just check that they've come up. All right. So you can see that, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with if we go to the Thursday, right?
Yeah, we've got a European game. This is what I was talking about. I didn't know when it was Sam, but we got a European game as well. So it's week after week.
If you look at that, Thursday the 24th, then Sunday the 27th, then and then after that will be the Man City game.
Yeah, and then
then the 3rd, then the 7th.
Yeah.
So in that 14-day period, Spurs will have 5 games in 14 days. 5 games in 14 days. Now, that's just looking at Spurs. Now, if we actually look to, if we actually then go and look at our opponents, this will probably give you a better idea, right? If we look at Man City, what they've got going on at that time frame, Man City's fixtures will be, what do we say, from the 24th of October?
Yeah.
So Man City, look at this. They've got the Sunday on the 20th away at Wolves.
Yeah.
City versus Prague on the 23rd. Then every 3 days. Then the 26th. Look at this.
They're not traveling now, are they? But they are. Yeah, they are for us.
Then the 29th. Look. Then the 20. This is crazy, right? They've got in 9 days. They've got 4 games.
But wasn't it mad? But wasn't it mad this weekend though, Savva? They played a big match against the Gooners on Sunday, and then they were forced to play the Carabao Cup on a Tuesday. It's just absolutely, it's mental. It is. But this is. I mean, there's something else going on where players are now complaining, and people are saying they're entitled gits, they shouldn't complain and that. But organisations are throwing competitions in and that without consulting. They are throwing competitions in, both national competitions and club competitions, because at the end of the season you've got that Club World Championship.
Yeah,
they weren't consulted, these teams. They were just told, yeah, we're going to have 32 teams or whatever it is in it, and you're going to represent your country. So I think it's Man City, and I think it's Man City and Chelsea that are in it at the end of this season. Yeah. And you're just like, there's more and more. They're not getting no time off. No players are getting time off. So I can understand the sentiment that some of them have got about injuries and that. And the person who's been the biggest talker about it was Rodri. And, look, it was unfortunate.
Yeah,
but it's unfortunate.
Look how much football that man would have played year in, year out. I mean, the funny thing with this is when I see people say things like, "Oh, they're entitled, they're well paid." Listen, whether I'm paid a fiver or I'm paid 500 grand a week, my body is still going through a toll, right? Week in, week out, training. Look, they're human beings. Do I feel sorry for them for other aspects? No, they've got a wonderful life, but we can't expect them. Like, if you look at that City there, a game every 3 days for 9 days, like 4 games in 9 days. And then people will go, then what fans will do is they go, Pep's left out this player or that player. Like, well, hang on. They can't just have 48-hour turnarounds all the time. But look, I think that this will represent a really good opportunity for Tottenham to take it seriously, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah. My worry is going to be this. My worry is, just going back to the fan forum, Jose, is when our beloved leader didn't put the League Cup final win in this top 3, it kind of tells me, is that going to filter down to Ange Postecoglou? That this game, sandwiched in the middle of the 2 Premier League games, is going to take a back seat the way the League Cup did when he answered this question? Is that, do you think, what do you make of that? Because for years and years, people always say, it's Levy. Levy doesn't want to take the League Cup seriously. Do you believe that Levy actually says to the managers, water it down for this game? Or do you believe it's the managers looking ahead to the league games and watering down the teams? Where do you think, or is it somewhere in the middle?
I don't know where it would be, but what I'm going to go back to, I don't get into the politics of it all, but looking at the comments that were made at this fan forum, some of them you just think to yourself, if it is like what people are saying, it's the same people that go to them. You're not allowed to ask dicey questions and stuff like that. Right. So if it is the case, then if they're hand-picked and hand-reared, right, so they know who's asking the questions and what they're going to ask, then that means that you would have had prep time to answer the question. And if that's the case,
that is the case.
If that is the case, then it's a very, very, very strange answer to give someone.
Agreed.
Very strange, because the first one at the top of the list should have been, and this even me, and I'm not political in any way with all this. If you ask me the question, even without it being hand reared to me, where I get a prep on it, I would have turned around and said, winning the League Cup trophy. And what we should be doing is we should be trying to bring you more of this, and that's what should have been the answer. If I'm hand reared and I've got prep time, that is my answer. Hand reared or not, that's my answer. To come out with, we've reached the Champions League final, I was just like, if you want to put your foot in it, Savva, want to put your foot in it in a PR stumbling exercise, you've done it again, mate. You've done it again. Simple as.
Listen, I tell you what. Look, what makes it even worse, as you said, and I had the opportunity to go last year. I wasn't invited. I wasn't invited at first. No. Well, you think they're going to look at my channel and go, that's who we want asking a question to Daniel Levy? But somebody reached out to me and said, Savva, there's an opportunity. There's a spare seat. Do you want to come? I've been asked to tell you, though, that
you can't say X, Y, and Z.
You've got to be careful. You've got to behave. And I'm like, well, first of all, look, I'm not a 12-year-old going on a school trip. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going to behave. But then it was like, oh, you've got to write down what would your question be, and they'll vet it. And it was like, oh no, I don't want to be.
It may not be asked. That's right.
Yeah, I don't want to be part of a scripted set. Yeah. But what's worse than all of this for me, and we'll link this back to the Carabao Cup in a second, is that they had time, and that the PR team, no one at the PR team has looked at those answers and gone, Daniel, do you not think it would be a good idea maybe if we mention the one trophy we've won in your tenure? Do you know what I mean? We've won one. Let's talk about it. But look, it makes it interesting. For me, I want to win the Carabao Cup, right? Yeah. For me, I want to win it, right? Forget all of this Ange in, Ange out, Jose in, Jose out, Conte in, Conte out. I don't care who's the manager. I want to win a trophy. I don't care whether it starts with the words FA Cup. I don't care if it's an energy drink cup. I don't care. I want to win a trophy. For me, I believe he needs to go as strong as possible. Yeah. I think he needs to go as strong as possible, right? Because whoever Man City put out, they're going to have good players on the pitch.
Correct.
I'm going to ask you right now, obviously, I'm asking you to look into the future. Do you think he'll go strong, or do you think we'll see Bergvall, Gray, Odegaard, Davis, Dragoshin, rather than the 5 that would probably start in front of them?
I think he'll go strong.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know that we're playing, we're sandwiching between 2 league games. If we get given, I'm hoping that we get given the Wednesday game.
Let's see. If I'm not wrong, did I just see on Cities?
It just said week of the 28th. That's all it said. Oh yeah,
here you go. Look,
yeah, but it did have something there, didn't it? It didn't have it in the Tottenham one. It did.
I'm sorry.
Right. The Man City one, you had it. Yeah, the Man City one had the Tottenham fixture on there.
I'm
But
clicking on it as though I've shared the screen. Sorry.
Okay.
If you look here,
you're right. It didn't make the Tottenham game didn't have it, but the Man
there
City
you go.
game did.
They've got it down as the
Ah,
29th. So
Tuesday. Are we playing the Saturday before that though?
we're playing. Oh, hang on, let's have a look. It's all
Because
happening here,
if
Jose.
that's a Tuesday, I'm hoping that we're on Saturday and that we're
Oh,
not Sunday.
let's have a look. So we are now. It's not definite. They could probably still move that, but let's have a look. Here's Tottenham Hotspur. Thank you, courtesy of Sky Sports. This information is also to be found in other places. Here we go. So we're playing on the Sunday. Then
And then
they've
the
got
Tuesday.
it.
Oh
They've got it
my
on the
God.
Tuesday.
So we've
So
been okay.
hang on. Were Man City playing on the Sunday? Yeah. So both clubs apparently Sunday, Tuesday, which leads me to believe that I think both teams will have a kind of mismatch. I reckon it will be a mixed bag. From seeing that, I cannot believe.
I reckon we'll go strong. I reckon.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon it was. Because we're not playing till the following Sunday again. Looking at that, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
reckon that because it's a home tie, I think he'll go stronger. He'll go stronger than what he would have, or what we would have thought for a fourth round game.
Well, let's have a look at Aston Villa because they're the team we play after that game, but they're in the round, aren't they? They're in it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they are in it.
So they're where was it? They're also playing. Well, look, they've got them all down as the Tuesday at the moment, so that might change.
That's going to have to change, surely. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. So we play Palace on the Sunday. Palace then play Villa on the Tuesday. We then play Villa on the Sunday. It's too many games. It's too many games.
Because what they've done with the European Champions League last week, they started the first fixtures, didn't they? They did it 6, 6, and 6. So they did it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right. Yeah.
But this week coming up, it's going to be 9 and 9. They do it. They're back to Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, if Manchester City are playing on that Sunday before our game with them, then they must be going back to a 3-game week again because they're now on a Sunday. It's just complicated. It's just like what I said earlier. Too many games, too many competitions forced upon. The calendar's absolutely packed. For teams that are playing in Europe, the calendar, and if you're still in the Carabao Cup and you're in Europe, the calendar from now to the end of the year is packed. You're looking at nearly 3 games a week for any of these sides.
Absolutely mad. If you actually look at Man City, right? Man City from the 20th of October through to the 9th of November, which tells me that's exactly 20 days. Is that right? 31 days in October. That's exactly 20 days. Right, I'll play in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in 20 days. 8 in 20. Listen, that's absolutely crazy. I think that this is going to be an interesting one, Jose, when we actually get towards that time. But what we've got to factor in here as well is who's injured at that time, right? Forget who's injured now. Yeah. By then, you could have. Touch wood, this doesn't happen. Romero and Van de Ven could be out, right? And then all of a sudden, you've got Dragoshin and Ben Davis playing 4 games in 10 days. Do you know what I mean? It
happened last year.
Yeah. But look, it's going to be very, very interesting. Look, it would be lovely to see us win this cup. And do you think there's more pressure this year because of what happened at Fulham last year? You know, there's a real split in what happened last year against Fulham, Jose. And what I mean by that is you've got a lot of the fan base that go, hang on, he was only 3 games into his reign. He had to look at the other squad players. And then you've got other people saying, well, hang on, yes, he was only 3 games into his reign. So the players weren't tired. We weren't playing in Europe. He could have gone full strength against Fulham. Do you think that, I don't want to argue the merits of that one game, but do you think the fact that we went out early last year puts a bit more pressure on him this year that this can't be the 3rd cup competition in a row where we go out early?
But we haven't because we beat Coventry.
No,
so
but yeah.
I know,
you know what I mean? Like it was
yeah.
Fulham in the first round we entered. Yeah. Look, I think we beat Burnley in the FA Cup, then went out to City, so we went out early. We've beaten Coventry. If we go out to City again, we start to become a team that can't actually get past 2 games in a cup. So Do you think that adds pressure?
Well, to me, I did say earlier, and I've said it on my shows before as well, to win a trophy, there's so many variables. And you're quite right. What you just said now is that we're talking about the here and now. I ain't got that crystal ball. We don't know who's going to be available in 4 weeks' time. But part of the variable that I was saying was home ties, away draws, who you've got fit at the time that can play, then what your selections are thereafter. If we are where we are now, then I think he goes out with a strong side. But I don't know who's going to be around in 4 weeks' time. Same as Man City. At the moment, you know that Man City are likely to be without Rodri and De Bruyne in 4 weeks' time. However, like we said, they got enough to fill out 3 teams. So, you know, at the end of the day, they'll put out whatever side Pep sees fit for that game. He'll put that side out. But to me, I would have thought that Ange, I'm hoping, because I don't know Ange's mind, but I'm hoping that he looks upon what happened last year. You know, once bitten, twice shy. We went out. The fans didn't like it that we went out. He possibly didn't like it that they went out. And then, in order to avoid that, you got to make changes. You got to approach it differently. And I'm hoping he does approach it differently. But by the same token as well, Savva, what I'd say is that we've got some people within the fan base, because we're all supporters and we've all got our own opinions. And you've got some people in the fan base that saying, with so many games coming up, we need to rest players, we need to rotate. I want to see, and you've got people that say, I want to see more of Bergvall, I want to see more of Gray, I want to see more of Mikey Moore. You know, I want to see more of these players. Now, if you do want to see more of these players, when are you going to fit them into play? So sometimes you've got to think to yourself, if you're saying on the one hand, I want to see more of these players, and then when it comes to the games, you say, hold on, I want to go in strong, because for Coventry game, people were saying that they wanted to see these players, and these players played. Oops, we've just about got through because we were absolutely appalling, and then people are saying, don't play them again. Don't play them again. Stick the strongest side. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. As supporters, we're very fickle. We want this, and then we think to ourselves, when it comes near the time, we just no, we don't want that. So
we're allowed to be fickle. That's why we're football fans and not pros. But do you know what, Jose? I do think that if we bring this conversation back to something you mentioned in the very first minute of this show, for me, what this is showing though already is how I'm not going to call it poor because I don't want to start a riot in the chat. How lightweight,
I called it light.
How light our summer transfer window was, you know, and this is where I don't give the club any excuses, Jose. We knew we had 4 competitions. We knew the new format of the Europa League was going to be 8 games minimum. Let's be honest, we're going to go through. Now you've got 10 games minimum, hopefully 15, 16 games to go and win it or whatever it is. So with that in mind, that's my disappointment, Jose, as to why we didn't go out and buy more senior pros. Don't get me wrong, buy the kids, buy all the kids you did, but buy some senior pros alongside them. Would you share that sentiment? Do you think the club, maybe we've been, I'm being polite now, I'm not going in as hard as I normally would, as you know, maybe we've been a little bit naive in saying, hang on, these kids will get us through all of these games where we have to rotate versus the fans' expectations of, well, hang on, we need to win something. Have they got that balance right?
Right, so I'm going to spin this to supporters in a different way, right?
Go for it.
Right, so, and I'm not telling you that this is exactly what happened because I don't know, because I'm not part of the inner circle at the club, right? But we as fans, we often talk about players that have come to our clubs for a payday. They haven't come to wear the badge. They haven't come to play for you. They don't care. They just want their pay packet and gone. So would there be an opportunity or a chance that with the people that they've got at Tottenham now, because I hear Ange when he does his interviews, and sometimes you've got to read into what he's saying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
He says a lot, doesn't he? You have to pick and read.
But I've got a feeling, it's only a feeling because, as I said, I'm not part of the circle, that he wants players at the club for the right reasons. I go for players, but they want to play for the club. Points to prove. They want to play for the club. They want to play with the badge. They're not
Sure.
coming. They're not coming for the payday. Now, could it be that we have? What's surprising? So, well, I'm going to go. What's surprising about this season is that normally after a transfer window closes, Savva, you normally get the stories after it's closed. Oh, we were in for blah blah, but we didn't. We bid 5 million less for him, or blah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You always hear these stories. We nearly got X, Y, and Z. I've not heard any of these stories after this transfer window's finished. I've not
No, you're
heard
right.
none of that
You're
at
right.
all. Now, I have no doubts in my mind. This is my personal opinion. I reckon that we did look at Neto, right?
Yeah,
And
well, we did bid for Neto, right? But I
yeah,
think that is true that we did. We bid Neto and Ollie Skip going the other way. I believe it was Ollie Skip.
yeah. But I reckon we did more than. I reckon we probably bid more than that. It wasn't the only bid we made. Now,
Sure.
reading between the lines of what Ange said, Ange alluded to the fact that you want players to come to your club because they want to play and they're not worried about their image rights or that they've got another offer on the
Yeah,
table, blah, blah, blah. Now, I reckon, and this is just me from afar, I
yeah,
reckon that Tottenham possibly did go in for some other players this summer, but, they either went to other clubs or, you couldn't get the deal done. But they've kept quiet about who it was and who it wasn't. However, even with all that being said, I still feel that we've gone in light by 2 to 3 players.
yeah.
With all that being said now, and quite honestly, if it is the former and it's players that were only coming for paydays, then good riddance because we had Adebayor and players like that came into our club just for paydays, and once they got their contracts, they then went back downhill again and they reverted back to type. I'd rather have players at the club that are going to come and play for us, but I still feel that we were too light
Yeah.
by 2 or 3 players.
Look, I do agree with you. Want players that play for this club, but the thing is, where I disagree with this, respectfully, is other clubs seem to find that balance. Right? It can't just be that any senior pro that gets paid 200 grand a week is purely in it for X, Y, Z reasons. I just think there was a balance to be struck, and I think when we're going to see this pain for me is in midfield. In midfield, we've got a strange group of central midfielders for me. For me, we've got, I'm not saying they're bad footballers, but when I look at Bentancur and Basuma, both very inconsistent. And everyone knows my favourite word, Jose, is consistency. I think it's really important to everything in life. They're very inconsistent. Sarr, for me, has not really kicked on. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad footballer. I don't watch him and go,
Who is he?
Yeah, what is he?
Who is he? Yeah, who is he? What is he?
Agreed.
Because all I see at times is an Energizer Bunny.
Exactly.
He can get around the pitch and that at times.
Exactly.
Because it's not all the time. I'm just saying at times. But then what is he? Is he a holding midfielder? Is he a deep line midfielder? Is he a box to box? And I'm not too sure. And the person that just runs around the pitch in triangles doesn't do it for me. So
I agree.
To me, you're quite right. And I think you've alluded to some of this before, Savva, about Papsar. I'm just not sure.
It's not personal against him. When I look at those, the reason I talk about those three is after those three, you're now into Bergvall and Gray. So literally, if a couple of them get injured at once, you're then playing in 4 competitions with no real senior pros, right? And for as much as people talk about a youth project, one thing that the youth players can't ever have, they can't have the know-how. They don't have the experience. They don't have that calm. I'm not saying they're all crazy, but they don't have that calm, composed nature to see out a game or to rally the troops. And for me, I just felt that there could have been a halfway house in what we've done. So, for example, what I mean is Bergvall and Gray. What about getting one of them and an experienced centre mid? Yang, who's coming in January, and Odegaard. What about getting one of them and an experienced forward wide man as well? I just feel that we could have just done a bit more. And look, at the moment, it's okay. We're missing what? Richarlison's missing. And
I don't think Richarlison's going to play for Tottenham again.
I don't. But we're missing. Who's injured from our squad at the moment? Richarlison and
Odegaard, Richarlison are the ones that are out.
Right. I don't think at the moment you're going to notice it. Right. However, you start to pick up one of our centre backs gets injured. One of those centre mids gets injured. Son gets injured. All of a sudden now you're going, oh, we're quite lightweight. Now look at a team like Liverpool to compare that to. Liverpool could put out 2 different sets of senior midfielders. Liverpool have got 6 senior attackers. Like last night, I think it was Jota, Chiesa, and Nunes, right? Which meant that there was no Diaz or Salah. And you're like, wow. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So for me, listen, it is finger in the air stuff, Jose. I want to be wrong. I hope everyone stays 100% fit, but
it could happen.
It could happen. And for me, if it does happen, we can't turn around and say that we weren't warned by this last season when the same thing happened. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think, listen, I'm excited for the season, but we're always in a position where we're 2 or 3 injuries away from nightmare, right?
So with the midfielders, Savva, you mentioned Benton Court, Bissouma and Papsar, and then you said we fall into Gray and Bergvall.
Yep.
So where does Maddison and Kulu sit in this? Because for me, playing the 2-8 roles, or if you want playing an 8 and a 10, I think they've done really well, and you know, and they've probably offered more than having a Bentancur, Bissouma, Sarr triangular, or having 2 out of them start. Having one of them and Kulu and Maddison seem to have worked for me.
Yeah.
And there are more experienced players. They are more experienced players, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting dynamic. And I think there's a time and a place to play both Maddison and Kulusevski. And then I think there's going to be games where you've got a really, I think the games where you're up against a really strong midfield, do you want to be playing 2 attacking midfielders? I'm not so sure. But again, it's all variables. Where's the game? Who have the other team got playing? Who's injured? Listen, I think at home to Brentford, if you're playing Bentancur and then saying to the other 2, go and do your thing, fine. I think if you're playing Man City who are going to dominate the football, do you really want Maddison and Kulu? I don't know.
It'd be interesting in the lineup. It'd be interesting in the lineup for Sunday to see what midfield starts Sunday. That'd be interesting. That'd be telling as well on where Ange currently sits with these players to see who starts Sunday.
I agree. I mean, I don't know whether the whole Kulu Maddison playing together in the middle has been born out of actually wanting to do that or actively trying to get Kulu in, but recognizing that he's not a right winger. Either way, it's looked good. It's looked good in patches.
Yeah.
But as I always say, Jose, for me, I'm not going to watch the one game against Brentford and go, wow. I want to see the next 6-7 games. Let's see how it works. Let's see that midfield against Villa's midfield, who are going to be powerful. John McGinn, Kamara, Onana, strong midfielders. Do you play 2 attacking against them? I don't know. So we'll see. Look, just quickly before we go, a couple of minutes just before we go, we are playing today. Funny enough, we haven't mentioned that at all. We're playing today. Listen, I watched a lot of the scores coming in last night because of my ACCA on Bet365. A lot of teams that you wouldn't think getting results. Other teams in the Europa League.
Bodo Glimt beat Porto. Benfica, or whoever it was, they played a Portuguese side and beat them 3-2, didn't they?
Do you know what, Jose? I watched that game because I had Porto in my ACCA, right?
Okay.
And
which any normal sane person would have gone for that.
Right.
Wouldn't they?
And Porto were 1-0 up, and I thought, this will be 3-0. Bodo Glimt were superb. They came back, and then they played 40 minutes of the second half, Bodo, with 10 men.
10 men, and they still and they were
2-1 up. Had a man sent off for diving, then went 3-1 up, and then Porto huffed and puffed. But look, you had Bodo Glimt, you had 20 who went to Man United, and they got a result.
Yep.
Do you think maybe a lot of us are downplaying Qarabag, or should this, in your mind, be a straightforward 3-4-0 victory?
I'm not going to listen to me. I'm not going to turn around and say 3-4-0. I'm just going to say a victory will suffice. What you get is all dependent on what team we put out, and dependent, obviously, as well, what Qarabag put up. Qarabag
Carabao.
Qarabag put out, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, last season as well, in whether it's the conference or the Europa League, some of the teams that played last season that you expect them to get out of the groups, I know the group stages were different, but
Yep.
some of them that you expected to get out didn't get out of the groups and
Yeah.
didn't show up for these competitions. So were they taking these competitions as serious, or were they just taking it for the payday and getting the money, and they were concentrating on leagues and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
with Qarabag, it's going to be quite interesting, because Qarabag have won 5 out of 6 games in the Azerbaijani league. They're top
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
league. But then I think you commented on them beating someone, them going out to someone. Was it 5
Yeah,
0
they lost 5-0 on aggregate
on aggregate?
to Dynamo Zagreb, who
But
lost 9-2 to Bayern Munich.
yeah,
But
but the game before, the qualifying round before that, they were up against someone and they'd lost the home leg 2-1, Qarabag, and they went on to win the bloody away leg 7-2 against a team that I thought possibly should have beaten them. And if you look at just the name of the team,
yeah,
so
I'm just finding it. I'm just finding it for you now. Okay, yeah. So it was Ludogorets. It was
Ludogorets,
Ludogorets
who'd been in the
from
Champions
Bulgaria.
League just before that, a couple of seasons ago, they were in the Champions League and they did quite well, getting in and they picked up a couple of points. And I thought Ludogorets would have beaten them if you look at it on paper, but they lost 2-1 at home, Qarabag, but then beat
Yeah,
them 7-2 away. So just like, what eggs, what basket, are you going to be? I hope. Well, no, I'm not going to. Right, I hope, because you can never tell with football, as you say, with your hackers and all that. I just
oh,
hope that Tottenham win. Now, whether it's a 1-0 victory or a 5-0 victory, to me, it makes no odds at the end of the day. 3 points is 3 points, and that's what you need. And
mhm.
so, I don't know, because I don't know what team we're selecting tonight. I would have thought that with Sonny doing the press conference yesterday, Sonny's a starter tonight.
Well, look, it's going to be interesting. I think more and more in modern football, I'm more reluctant to give a score prediction until I actually see the lineups.
Yes,
Because it's so difficult.
That's right.
But yeah, and the one thing I would say, Qarabag. Listen, I did a show yesterday with Dave from the Irish Hotspur, and people were very quick to come back at us in the comments and say, "Oh, hang on, Qarabag, they're not as bad as people think." And I'm not saying they're bad, right? They had a really good run last year in the Europa League,
Right, yeah.
and narrowly went out to Bayer Leverkusen.
5-4, yeah.
Yeah. But then again, this year I've seen them go 5-0 to Dynamo Zagreb. So I don't know what I'm going to get. All I know is their centre forward is called Juninho. So read into that what you will. We've seen some great Juninhos down the year. And Juninho got 20 goals last year in 35 games for Qarabag. So he clearly knows how to put the biscuit in the basket. Look, Jose, I'll leave it there. But look, thank you so much. Hopefully you'll be happy to do this again moving forward.
Yes,
We can make it a bit of a segment. Look, one thing we know is we're all Tottenham. We all want us to win. Let's hope that we get a win today, get the win at Man United, because that's going to be interesting. Man United have now, I've got 1 minute. Man United have now drawn with Palace, drawn with FC20. Now they have a home game against Spurs. Is it going to be Dr. Tottenham, or are we going to pile the pressure on Ten Hag? It's going to be I'm really looking forward to that one.
I'm hoping he makes changes and he brings Casemiro back in the game back into to the lineup for us.
It's going to be really interesting, isn't it? I feel like I'm not going to get deep into this. I feel like if Ten Hag doesn't win that game, I'm seeing fans last night. Ten Hag out again. He's had the dreaded vote of confidence. Can we hopefully pile the pressure on? But Dr. Tottenham does exist, so we'll see, Jose. We'll see.
Yeah,
listen. Yeah. Everybody, please get over to @Tel Cockerel. Please go over there. Tel has also got a really good fantasy football league, and also you've got the prediction.
Predict the Prem, and predictions that I do on a Friday.
There you go. And I believe, is everyone welcome to join that, and everyone can join in?
Yeah. Anyone. So I put it onto sub only for a Friday show, because at the end of the day, doing all that work, I'd rather do it for people that are going to keep coming back.
Of course,
so I'd do it as a sub only show on a Friday. But yeah, anybody that wants to enter is more than welcome, and it's never too late to start.
Yeah, perfect. And I'll be giving you my score predictions tomorrow for the weekend. See if I can catch up, guys, girls. Listen, I will be live from 6 p.m. I'll be having guests between 6 and 7, and then from 7 to 8, we'll be looking at all the team, the lineups, and I might have Iggy joining me for a watch along. I might, not sure yet, but we're talking. So please join me tonight at 6 p.m. Go and subscribe to El Tel. His link is going to be in the chat. Much love. Take care. Please remember, it's just football at the end of the day. And whether Spurs win, lose, or draw, we all go home to our loved ones. And that's more important than whether or not we've won anything. Yeah. Take care, everyone. Much love. And as always, come on, you Spurs.